A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to your News at 9, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscoon.
And I'm Nicola De Zoiza. We'll start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
President says that every Muslim in the country will be granted an opportunity to make the holy pilgrimage to Mecca. The Ministry of External Affairs did not accept the proposal to obtain the assistance of the Attorney General's Department on International Affairs, a revelation from former Attorney General Palitha Fernando. Commenting on the budget, Governor of the Central Bank says,
So if people think it is waving of a magic wand, the conditions to wave the magic wand has been put in place.
Landslide warnings for Badulla and Norelia still in effect.
And starting off with some local news, President Mahinda Rajapaksa visited Trincomalee today.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa visited the Agrabodhi Vihara in Kantale today and participated in religious observances. The president also visited the chief incumbent, Venerable Yatavara Panyananda Thera, and inquired into his well-being. The president attended several events in Trincomalee today. Addressing the people at one of these events, the president said that he would arrange for every Muslim in the country to make the pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in their lifetime. Cast aside all divisions and join hands as one nation and one country. I believe that we must all work together while never forgetting that Sri Lanka is our motherland. At the same time, I also recently looked at the people who were travelling to Mecca. The wealthy make the pilgrimage 100 times. Even when they are old, they go to Mecca. Some people do not have the opportunity because they do not have the money. I wish to note at this occasion that in the future, I will make arrangements to ensure that the poor mothers and fathers will get the opportunity to make the pilgrimage to Mecca at least once.
The National Building Research Organisation says that the landslide warnings issued to the Badulla and Norelia districts have been extended, taking into consideration the prevailing weather conditions. Several disaster situations were reported due to the rainy weather conditions.
The Kandy Mahayangania road in the Urudumbara area was obstructed on the night of the day before yesterday owing to twin landslides. Measures were taken since last morning to restore vehicular movement on the road. However, according to our correspondent, the road remained obstructed even as of 5 o'clock this evening. An earth embankment had collapsed onto the Karadupana road on the Ranbala junction, which is used as an alternative route to Kegol last night. The Badulu Oya and Kuda Oya breaking its banks have caused a risk to travellers on 3 bridges in the area. Those who cross the Deyanavela, Hambavela and Jinananda bridges have been advised by the Badulla Disaster Management Unit to be extremely vigilant. The temporary bridge, which was constructed for area residents in place of the Deyanavela bridge, which is being renovated, was washed away by flash floods on Sunday. This has resulted in locals being compelled to get into the water to cross to the other side. Gale force winds blew away the roofs of 10 houses in the Mahavela housing complex in Tambuttegama, Anuradhapura yesterday. Meanwhile, measures were taken last night to release water from the Kumbit-Chankulama tank in the Anuradhapura town by opening its spill gates to prevent it from breaking its banks. The threat of the tank breaking its banks arose due to a leakage in the in-tank's dam worsening. According to our correspondent, although sacks of sand were placed at the bund as a temporary measure to prevent the leakage, this too had given way by this morning. Quoting area residents, our area correspondent said that this situation was caused by the tank being dug up for the landing of seaplanes.
The Kumbit-Chankulama tank is not used for agricultural purposes. It is a beautiful tank in the area and there are no paddy fields around it, but it is maintained to enhance the scenery. And this is why the municipal council has made a request to renovate the tank. However, before this could be achieved, the rain filled up the tank. As a result, there were leaks from certain parts of the bund. So in order to avoid a risk, we opened the spill gates to prevent it from breaking.
The Department of Meteorology says that showers will develop over the eastern parts of the island over the next few days. The department added that thunder showers will develop at several places inland during the afternoon or evening. The Met Department also forecasts that sea areas around the island will not be rough. However, these conditions could change in the event of thunder showers. UNP Deputy Leader Sajid Premadasa raised questions in Parliament today regarding the electricity tariffs.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I am asking the question cordially. Please tell the people controlling the microphone to leave it on. It turns on quickly on the other side and is muted quickly on this side. The mic only turns on after I shout for a while. I do not know why it is. Has a special order been given to quickly mute the microphones of opposition members? The opposition leader is unable to give orders about the microphones. You, as the chair, have more power. The electricity tariffs of the consumers were increased by 80 to 110% before being brought down by 25%. As promised, when will you take steps to reduce this in total and not just by 25%?
It was not increased by 80% as you say. The President took steps through the budget to provide electricity tariff concessions and not only for domestic consumers.
Because
of the kindness shown to him, I will answer the questions. But this question is irrelevant.
How can you say it is irrelevant even before I have asked the third question? Do you accept that the corrupt coal deal at the Norachole power plant caused you and the government to pass the burden onto the electricity consumers in the country?
I said it was a loss. Listen to the answer to your question very well. Steps are being taken to reclaim that loss from the relevant parties. Corruption and loss are two different concepts. Do not get it mixed up.
Welcome back to the news. Still in local news this evening, the Governor of the Central Bank, Ajit Niwat Cabral, says that a background should be made for an inclusive budget to be presented. He made this comment at a post-budget forum organized by the Sri Lanka Forex Association together with Thomson Reuters that was held in Colombo yesterday.
Now, one of the questions that I was asked on many occasions in the aftermath of the budget was, how is all these things possible? Is there a magic wand that has been waved in line with the elections that may be impending? And many people have asked that. So the simple answer to that is, whatever the magic wands that are waved should have had the background for it to be waved. So if people think it is waving of a magic wand, the conditions to wave the magic wand has been put in place. Otherwise, no amount of waving magic wands would make the rabbit come out of the hat. So the rabbit has been positioned well for it to come out of the hat because it has been positioned with very good macro fundamentals that enables the country to do whatever that has been done.
Sri Lanka is positioning itself for a high growth path. Sri Lanka is at critical juncture where it has done significant scale up in infrastructure and it's in transition to private sector led growth. Private sector is expected to seek and utilize opportunities presented to them. However, there seems less vibrancy than anticipated in the low inflation, low interest rate, and stable macro environment. As other episodes of scale-up in different countries showed, liberalizing business environment is an important catalyst for private sector-led growth.
Meanwhile, a forum to discuss the tax proposals and impact on business of the 2015 budget was held yesterday. The event was organized by the Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka, more widely known as the CMA.
They're trying to marginalize or separate out this budget and try to negotiate this budget, not a development budget or anything else. This is the kind of list of kind of relief package or subsidy package or something. It's not a kind of a professional kind of a budget. That's what they say. We started the concept called medium-term budgeting. We do away with the annual budgeting. In the past, the government adopted one-year budget. But we realized that concept doesn't work in order to look at the long-term development programs. So we need to have a lot of projects continuing. So you cannot just finish within 1 year. For example, this year budget, we proposed 2015 to 17. If you look at budget estimate, there will be a proposed 3-year budget, not a 1-year budget. So still people don't recognize this. But therefore, this we cannot take out from the 2015 budget and separate out from 2014. In fact, this budget linked to 2014, 13 and 15 also.
That was the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, Dr. BMS Batagoda.
On a developing story, former Sri Lankan permanent representative to the UN in Geneva, Thamara Kununayakam, says that the Minister of External Affairs should make public the communication between Yu Jawahar at the mission in Geneva and a Swiss intelligence official.
On the 21st of October, the Minister of External Affairs issued a communique exonerating the Secretary to the Ministry of any wrongdoing in the controversy surrounding the 2009 refurbishment of the official residence of the permanent representative in Geneva. However, Thamara Kununayakam, who was the permanent representative when the communication is supposed to have occurred, had this to say regarding the procedure to be followed when making such a communication.
The ambassador would instruct the consular officer concerned to prepare what is called a note verbal or a third person note, which is a note which is sent. There's no signature to it. It's not addressed to any person that is named. It's addressed to the ministry, the foreign ministry of the country concerned, or the equivalent of the secretary of the foreign ministry. It's stamped. There's a stamp by the embassy and an initial. And usually the ambassador has to initial it or has to see before it goes and has to authorize it. Now in this case, I was there at the time that Mr. Jawahar is supposed to have sent this personal note. It's not a third person's note, it's not a note verbal, but some form of personal communication which is totally outside the normal existing established rules for communication between two governments. It's quite a legitimate question to ask to show the communication. And also it's totally irregular to refer to, even if it was an intelligence officer, you don't mention the names of an intelligence officer from any country in the world. I mean, what is the credibility of Sri Lanka now vis-a-vis other countries, even our own allies, who will say, well, I mean, they'll be very careful about communicating with us because we could suddenly release the names of their people and put their officers in danger.
Meanwhile, at a media briefing convened in Colombo today, journalists questioned Minister Mahinda Samarasinha, who also frequented Human Rights Council sessions in Geneva in this period, regarding the Geneva Gate controversy.
No, I convened this media briefing today to discuss the budget proposals. We will talk about that separately. We will keep Minister G.L. Piris next to us and talk about it. I know what you came prepared for.
Well, now you could follow the developments of this story on social media platforms using the hashtag GenevaGate. And you could also follow the story and share your thoughts using the hashtag GenevaGate. Meanwhile, in more local news, former Attorney General Palitha Fernando says that he did not receive a positive response from the Ministry of External Affairs to an offer he made at the commencement of his tenure for the AG's department to play a broad role in international affairs. He made this revelation in an exclusive interview with Newsfirst's Nadim Majid.
In your tenure as Attorney General, when these cases are being heard and all that, how many times has the Attorney General's department been approached by the Ministry of External Affairs seeking legal consultation?
But the Attorney General has no role to play as in international affairs. International affairs is dealt with by the Ministry of External Affairs. And the External Affairs has its own legal officers and they have their representatives abroad and they should deal with those matters. And whenever they seek the assistance of the Attorney General's Department, the Attorney General's Department will extend that assistance that is needed. Let me tell you an incident. This happened several years ago. While I met the late Mr. Lakshman Kadiragama, he was not the foreign minister then. I suppose he was out of power at that time when I met him. Then he told me that the Attorney General's Department should get involved in foreign affairs more than it does now. In fact, after I assumed duties as Attorney General, I wrote a letter to the then Secretary to the Minister of External Affairs, Mr. Amunugama, and I said, I never mentioned Mr. Lakshman Kadiragama, but I said that this should be done. but then there was no positive response.
The impeachment of the former Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike. Now, you soon after the impeachment went to the Supreme Court and sought a decision from the court to quash the earlier decision that had been given by the Court of Appeal, quashing the decision of the Parliamentary Select Committee. Why did you do this? Were you instructed to do so, or was it of your own initiative?
A judicial authority has no power to pronounce upon a decision of a Parliamentary Select Committee which is part of Parliament. And if I had the slightest doubt that our position was not correct, that our stance was not correct, I would never have gone to court. But I did go to court. I made my submissions before a bench of 5 judges, and the 5 judges gave a decision, a unanimous decision, saying that the court has no authority to pronounce upon a decision made by a Parliament Select Committee. Najim, let me tell you this. I am firmly of the belief that a court has no authority to pronounce upon Parliament, whether it be a Parliamentary Select Committee or it be members of Parliament. Now, if it is an irregular order, then people should take note of it. That was my argument, that was my stance, that is my firm and honest belief even today, and that is what has been upheld as correct by the Supreme Court.
Keep a weather eye for more of the views expressed by former Attorney General Palita Fernando, coming soon on MTV Sports.
The National Convention of UNP polling booth agents was held this evening. The convention was held at Hyde Park, Colombo.
UNP activists from several parts of the island attended the UNP polling booth agents convention today. The convention commenced under the auspices of UNP seniors, including opposition leader Ranil Wickramasinghe.
For 10 years they have lied to this country, engaged in fraud and corruption, and have attempted to make one family reign supreme. Before long we will have an opportunity to put a stop to this journey which has burdened the people and placed them in this difficult situation. Today we must correct the wrong journey that our country Sri Lanka is being taken on.
අද මේ රටේ වැරදි ගමනක් යනකොට භයානකකාරී තත්ත්වය තුලින් ගමන් කරනකොට මේක නිවැරදි කරන්නයි. අපි සියලු දෙනාටම තිබුණා ලොකු බලාපොරොත්තුවක්.
We all had a major hope. The people of this country have an expectation now that this regime will be changed. You who are rallying against fraud will not face any problem in standing together with the people. If you break down the 600 votes at a polling station, each of you need only canvass about 15 to 20 votes. If I am to say it differently, you only need to canvass 5 households each. My friends, I say to you now that if every one of you canvasses 5 houses each, then we will definitely be able to win the presidential election.
අපි හිරියර වින්ද ඇති. අපි අසාධාරණ වින්ද ඇති.
Let us prepare for battle. We have suffered enough. We have undergone enough harassment. We have suffered enough injustice. What we must do now as the United National Party is unite everyone in the country to ensure that we reverse this suffering, harassment and injustice by bringing the UNP into power. We are prepared to face any force, even the force of the state. We have journeyed far already. We are at the last stage of the climb. Even though it is the hardest part of the climb, we can do it. Since we are talking about Uva, we must have surpassed Beragala by now as well. We must go to Haputale now. We can climb that mountain. I say to you now that we will go there and we will win.
අපි දැන් බෙරගලත් පහු කරලා තියෙන්නේ. අපුතලේට යන්න තව තියෙනවා. ඒ කන්ද අදින්න පුළුවන්. අපිට යන්න පුළුවන්. අපි එතෙන්ට ගිහින් අපි ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා කියලා කියන්න කැමතියි. කොච්චර කතා කළත් කොච්චර උද්ඝෝෂණ කරත් කොච්චර පාගම් ගියත්
No matter how much we speak, no matter how many demonstrations we hold, no matter how many processions we go on or how many rallies we hold, it would be pointless, for we cannot win this battle without you. The United National Party is like a mighty tree. This mighty tree has provided shade to the millions of people in this country who have suffered. This mighty tree has given them relief and has given them safety and security. We are not on a journey of defeat. I wish to say to you now that we will only look back again after we register historic victory at both the presidential election and the general election. Meanwhile, several other party seniors expressed their views.
UMP Western Provincial Councillor S.M. Marika charges that decorations that were put up for a rally of the party have been taken down.
The decorations were put up in the Kulonnava area. Our cameras captured how the police were taking down these decorations this morning. We notified the police OICs that we were making decorations for an event of the party. However, regardless of this, police officers started removing the decorations this morning, which were put up by party supporters who worked tirelessly to do this. This gives the impression that the government is terrified of the United National Party rising up in the Kulonnava area. They are trying to implement a rule for the UNP only in Kulonnava, which otherwise do not apply for politicians and parties of the government.
When Newsfirst made inquiries into the matter, police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Ronu stated that no such meetings were held in areas where decorations were put up. SSP Ronu added that measures were taken to remove the decorations in accordance with environmental laws.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party convened a media briefing in Colombo this morning.
They are acting out falsely today. They went to the port and to various other places recently. They started talking about shortcomings. But what about their concept of good governance? They're holding a rally today with their polling agents. They're holding a rally in Colombo. Who is organizing this rally? Employees of the Colombo Municipal Council. They called me when I was on the way here and said they're slaving away. 112 people are putting up flags. Is this good governance? If they're acting this way when they're not in government, we can imagine what the UNP's good governance would be like if they came into power.
Everyone speaks of an era of Dutukamanu, but even if you consider the time from Dutukamanu era to the present, this country has never had such a large amount of foreign reserves. By 2015 it will be $10 billion US. There are our foreign reserves at present. The government has held on to wealth that is enough to feed, clothe and give the people anything else for 6 months. At a time when the UNP is trying to give you leftovers from the dinner table, His Excellency the President has invited everyone to sit at the dinner table. This is the difference between Rostov's theory and Mahinda Rajapaksa's theory.
Seven 7% is not a small amount. The disabled and the elderly make up 16% of the population now, and that number is increasing. So the economy has to be analyzed in a different fashion, and the economic path must be determined. In the future, we will have a seniors economy and not a youth economy. I am happy that I have been appointed the Social Services Minister. I have been given an opportunity to carry out a major meritorious deed. The people at my ministry have been made superstars through this budget.
The Asian Forum of Parliamentarians on Population and Development was held in Cambodia. Incidentally, General Secretary of the Citizens Front, MP J. Sriranga, chaired the forum. MP J. Sriranga was the only member of Parliament in Sri Lanka selected to attend this prestigious forum by the Asian Forum of Parliamentarians on Population and Development. During the forum, MP J. Sriranga discussed on the topic of successful intervention at national level on violence, prevention and responses. Public representatives from 22 countries attended the forum in Cambodia, which was inaugurated by the Deputy Prime Minister of Cambodia. The focus of this forum was to address violence against women and girls and violence prevention.
The women and men you can't divide or will make any immoral advances on.
We now cross over for a short commercial break.
Welcome back to the news. The case pertaining to the unauthorized use of the T-brand trademarks Imona and Canary device owned by A.F. Jones, a subsidiary of the Capital Maharaja organization, was taken up before Colombo Fort Magistrate Thilina Gambage yesterday. Today, the counsel for the plaintiff pointed out confusing elements in legal facts mentioned by the defense counsel to the media upon exiting court yesterday.
The Maharaja organization, who are the plaintiffs in the case that was heard today, have requested an injunction through a case being heard at the Colombo Commercial High Court. Since the search warrant and summons were obtained from court without informing court of this fact, we submitted on behalf of Vintage Tea Company that the summons be reissued. The magistrate accepted our premise and noted that if there were objections, the Maharaja organization could make written submissions within a month. At the same time, the magistrate allowed the directors of the Vintage Tea Company, who appeared in court today, to leave court after they signed personal bonds.
I wish to correct certain inaccurate statements that have been made by the lawyers for the defense in respect to the Capital Maharaja case, which has came up in court yesterday. Now this case has been filed by Capital Maharaja organization against Vintage Teas and its board of directors, Jayamal Rajapaksa, Palita Karunanayaka and Vinod Vijayatunga. Now the complaint that has been made by us to court is that Vintage Teas deliberately infringed the trademark rights of Capital Maharaja organization and its subsidiary A.F. Jones Tea, who are responsible for the export of the tea under the trademark and brand names Canary Device and Imona. Now in the complaint that we have made before court, a very important fact has been set out, that the three directors, Rajapaksa, Karunanayaka and Vijayatunga, were all past employees of Capital Maharaja organization and A.F. Jones, and they have been fully aware that Canary Device and Imona trademarks have been registered with Capital Maharaja organization. The defense lawyers have been making certain statements to Sirasa news channels plus certain other news channels, stating that we had obtained a search warrant and summons on the accused by suppressing and misrepresenting material facts to court. Now this is a completely false statement, an inaccurate statement, because all material facts that were required to be disclosed to court have been disclosed to court, and all facts have been, and evidence was thoroughly evaluated by court, and the court had gone into the extent of taking oral evidence as well, apart from the papers filed in court, and the court thereafter reserved its order and went through matters further and felt satisfied that there was more than fair reason to issue a search warrant and summons on the accused. Now the matter before the magistrate court is a very simple matter. We are the registered owners of the trademark Canary Device and Imona. As a registered owner, all rights accrue to the registered owner to use the mark, to assign the mark, to give license contracts under the mark. All those rights are accrued to the registered owner. Canary Device and Imona is a mark that is been actively used by Capital Maharaja organization and its subsidiary which exports the tea, A.F. Jones Limited. We have not under any circumstances granted any permission to Vintage Tea or its directors to use our mark. Also the defense has mentioned to the media that their objection was accepted, and that we had to if we had something to say or reply, then we were given the next court date. Now that is completely inaccurate. It is not that their court has accepted their their objection and think their objection is correct. The court is just hearing their objection and court is waiting for our response to finally decide on it. And I mean, I can tell you very clearly that Capital Maharaja organization is well within its rights and has conformed to all required standards under law when filing this case and making applications before court. And also the accused were not released only on personal bail. Yesterday, the court released them on personal bail because they were not ready to furnish the other bail conditions that was required and ordered by court. They were the directors of Vintage Teas were asked to place 2 sureties each in court who happened to be their closest family members. So now that is the correct order that was made by court, and not merely that Vintage Teas directors were released on a personal bond. They have to, on the next date when the case comes up in court on November 24th, they have to place the sureties in court.
Newsfirst U reporter Ranga Vajiranath from Balangoda filed this report today.
A road accident occurred in the Balangoda town around 1:30 this afternoon. The accident occurred when a 3-wheeler skidded off the road. A motorcycle travelling in the opposite direction sustained minor damages. The 3-wheeler driver has also been injured.
Some 2,440 students have been caught cheating using high-tech equipment in a national exam in northwestern China's Jiangxi province recently.
More than 25,000 people took the exam held on the 18th and 19th of October this year in 7 separate locations to become licensed pharmacists in Xi'an, the capital city of Shaanxi province. According to reports, invigilators detected abnormal radio signals during the examination, which were used to transmit answers of the tests in code to the examiners. Some 2,000 cheating equipment were confiscated. Candidates who were found cheating in the exam face a 2-year ban from taking any national exams, and their grades will be disqualified. According to the local police, 2 criminal gangs of cheating have been arrested and the cases are under investigation.
First up in sports news, the third unofficial test between Sri Lanka A and West Indies A ended in a draw in Moratuwa today, handing Sri Lanka a 1-0 series win. Resuming their second innings on the 4th day of play on 183 for 3, West Indies A were bundled out for 234 after posting 282 in their first innings, giving a target of 218 for the Lankans to win. However, play was called off when rain interrupted the Sri Lankan second innings on 166 for 5. Bahiru Thirimana was unbeaten on 57, while Ashan Priyanjan scored 36.
The Mobitel Sports First Platinum Awards motorcade reached Kottawa today. Sportsmen and women in the area were able to obtain their applications for the award ceremony today as well.
The Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards is Sri Lanka's first award ceremony that recognizes sportsmen and women from across the board for their talents and achievements in the national and international arenas. The Platinum Awards promotional vehicular parade arrived in Kottawa today, which is its final destination. The Platinum Awards promotional vehicular parade kicked off its journey in Jaffna. Ivesha Tatsarani, a basketball player of St. Joseph Girls School Nugegoda, was presented with a commemorative award today. Sportsmen and women were able to obtain application forms for the Mobitel Sports First Platinum Awards at the promotional event that also featured a colourful musical performance. 100,000 rupees were awarded to 3 lucky winners after naming the most popular sportsman. For more information on the Platinum Awards, call 0710 420 420.
Well, that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola D'Souza.
And I'm Joel Outskoon. Take care
and good night.